Hi, I'm Abby Fisher. Welcome to another episode of Where You Live. Today we're out at Kersley at Pennybryn Farm. Welcome back to Where You Live. I'm here with Paul and Terry Nichols, the founders of Communities for Veterans Foundation. Some of you may know them from their work with the Ride Across Canada. Paul, can you tell us a little bit about the ride and what you had hoped to accomplish?
Our Ride Across Canada is really, it was a culmination of my own experiences that took us to that point. It was my own challenges as a returning veteran, as a returning Canadian soldier, trying to find my way in community and trying to fit in a community that often thinks of a veteran as an old man. So the purpose of the ride was to facilitate a cross-country relay where we did just that, where we reintroduced our Canadian troops to their own communities.
That's a fantastic motive. Terry, can you tell us how the communities responded to that?
We felt that there was a big motivation in community to want to show appreciation and to show gratitude to veterans, but a lot of people didn't recognize that veterans were young people, and they didn't know what to do to show appreciation. So we gave communities a way to show appreciation and a gathering place, and opened up people's eyes to the younger generations of military that become invisible when they transition out of the military and join community.
When you came back from the ride, you were gone for 8 months? Mm-hmm. Months. So when you came back, you kind of settled with what you have done, and you did an amazing job, by the way. And then you decided to have veterans programs at home here at Pennybryn. Mm-hmm. So how did that turn out? Where did these programs go?
When we came home from the Ride Across Canada, our lives were changed. And we had lived that time with this greater sense of purpose. And we realized that we had some unique skills to make a difference for veterans and for community. So when we came home, we left our jobs that we had in town to build the farm into a place that would support veterans, and we could have programs here at the farm. So in 2016, we had our first pilot program, and we hosted veterans from across Canada and veterans that were affected with PTSD. We included our community, and we had an incredible team, and it did make a difference. So encouraged us to continue further to develop our farm into a center, a facility that we can now host veterans from across Canada for many programs in a year. And that's what we're about to start doing this spring.
That's super exciting.
Mm-hmm. It is.
So I want to ask you today about the Forge program. And this is something that's relatively new, something that's new to me and new to you both. But how's the Forge program? Is it any different from your pilot program? What have you changed about it?
So the Forge program I think it was created on our Ride Across Canada. The idea of putting veterans in the saddle and having them active in community, and a lot of times the people that joined me for my part of the journey had some pretty serious challenges. Some of the challenges that come along with the result of an operational stress injury or post-traumatic stress disorder. In order for them to safely join me on the trail, they had to come through Terry's program. So she would have them for usually about a half a day, sometimes more, but usually about half a day, and until she felt that they were safe enough to join me in the saddle. And they started craving it. The horses are like a mirror. It's as a flight animal and a prey animal, they make us bring our best self to the table, and when we do, then they are at their best. and it was after we returned home, the veterans started coming. So it's really, well, to answer your question, the Forge program is just a further development of the process that we developed on the ride across Canada.
The Communities for Veterans Foundation was created for our ride across Canada. And now Paul and I personally have turned that experience into our life and into our livelihood. And so it's growing, and we still have community involvement, but the Forge is the program that we've developed. We're creating the manuals for this program. We have staff now, and then the other part of it is the community is essential. So we also have a community cares portion for our Forge programs, so that people can be involved, and we think that's part of the healing process for veterans, is to become part of community once again.
And I still believe that is the answer. We all leave the military and we all transition back into the communities that we come from. And with timely support in that time of transition, our veterans can be the leaders that they were meant to be.
So as much as you guys are running this program, you need support from your communities. That's the biggest thing.
Absolutely. So we are running the Forge program as our business, but as a part of the community involvement. It's a way for people to give back and to show appreciation, and it affects our veterans' well-being substantially. That people, when volunteers are here, a veteran will ask them, like, why are you here, volunteering your time, bringing a casserole, teaching a mindful activity, and because they matter, because what they've done in their life matters. That's why we've been given a gift of this life in Canada that is not what is normal around the world. And for someone to show appreciation is a great experience from the volunteer, or for the volunteer, but also really powerful for a veteran as well.
That's wonderful. Mm-hmm. Paul, can you explain a little bit so people understand what the Forge program is? Can you explain why you decided to name it the Forge?
So the Forge, I first heard the story of the Forge from an old friend of mine. He was someone I think very highly of. We soldiered together years ago. He used to be my boss back when I was instructing at the battle school. And just in discussion, he told me it's really a story of resiliency, but the story is of an iron ingot. Like a block of iron is simply that. It's a block of iron, and it's not particularly useful. It's heavy. And even a big chunk of iron isn't even that strong. And in order for iron to take its true form, it needs to know the heat of the fire. It needs to know the blows from the smith, and it has to be heated and folded and taken almost to the point of destruction. And it is only with the careful handling of the artisan that iron ingot can take its true form and become the tool, the plow, the weapon, the piece of art. And that's the story of the Forge. It's hard work, and it's dirty, and it's taking our true form.
Beautiful. and the idea that veterans would come here to this setting as a retreat isn't the case. It is a beautiful setting, but growth and healing are hard work, and it's messy, and it takes a lot of strength, even for people to bring themselves here. So it's not a retreat; it's the Forge, and that hard work is worth it.
So, what do you have here for people when they're going through that hard work, when they're building skills and tools for their life? Is it physically based, or what do you touch on the psychological side?
Go ahead.
So we touch on both. We wanted to create a holistic program that can help people physically. Many people come with a history of injury. They come with a history of trauma, and it affects people physically. It affects how we move, how we breathe, and then it moves further into how we think.
Your program started out, the Communities for Veterans program started out just as a program for veterans. But with the Forge program, are you thinking of perhaps moving beyond just veterans and opening up to people in our community with post-traumatic stress disorder or other kinds of psychological injury?
Right now, the programs that we have in place are mostly for veterans. We do have a program for first responders this fall. And there are some shorter programs that we're developing for leadership and for wellness that are catered to particular groups in the community.
Okay, great. So is that are you thinking of expanding a little bit more on that in the future, or is that going to look?
I would say absolutely we are looking towards growth. We're looking to establish programs that are more catering to local veterans so that they could come for a shorter period of time and then come back in a couple of weeks, that we can include families in programs and in healing. So we do expect to grow, and we want to grow, and we're planning on that. We have a lot of veterans in the North that live in isolation. One of the reasons why a lot of people choose to live in the North. And doing the programs actually creates a community of veterans that can rely on each other and connect with each other in the North. So that's important. We're planning on establishing some shorter programs for local veterans that can get to our farm easier, and also family programs, incorporating their circle of people and also connecting with local communities so that their care doesn't end here on the farm, but that it continues when they go home to their home communities.
So, like you said, some veterans come home and they find a home in regimented careers, like going into the RCMP, and some of them find themselves living in isolation. So, with the service of being a veteran, because it affects people in so many different ways, how would somebody know if your programs are right for them?
Most of the time they'll hear about our program from their psychologist or their case manager or word of mouth, and they'll contact us. And a short conversation, and they'll be able to hear what we do and what our goals are for people while they're at the farm. And with that information, they can decide if it's appropriate for what they need.
Okay.
And I think it's really important to say that so often we think of post-traumatic stress disorder as a disorder, and a lot of the symptoms that go along with an operational stress injury or PTSD, there's a negative connotation that's associated with them, and it's like the hypervigilance and the awareness and the like the startle response, and a lot of times those are honed skills that serve us very, very well while we are at work in our chosen profession, whether it's policing, soldiering. So I believe that the key to transitioning well is learning to be able to not completely like wash away that experience or that skill. The key is to be able to dial it up and dial it down so it becomes a useful skill and not a intrusive like baggage. So it's really about learning to control emotion and to use it as like these skills that we have learned as soldiers to be valuable assets moving forward.
Great. So you're planning to be building programs for local veterans, so people can come in every couple of weeks. But currently, right now, what do you have available yearly? How many programs are you running each year?
So we have 4 programs planned for this year. They're 10 days long. our first program of 2018 happens at the end of May, and then we have 3 more. Our final program in September is we've geared that one towards our first responders.
Because the whole foundation is about community. How can the community of Quesnel get involved? How can they make it? How can they make this better?
I'm glad you asked. It's, the answer is community. In order for our veterans to transition well, we need the support of community. And so during our programs, our veterans are here to work on themselves. And we're here to make change and to really to be able to adapt to being a civilian. And part of that means getting out and being active in your community. And a lot of times we're not a great fit, and sometimes our veterans can be our veterans can be abrasive. And the key to healthy transition is actually transitioning and being active in our communities and getting out and doing things that we enjoy. And an activity like a mindful practice that can take all the noise and the clutter that's going on inside your head and focus it down into something small, like and keep that sharp focus, like painting or building models or photography, tying flies, playing a musical instrument. We have time set aside, sort of after hours in our program, evening time, where community members can come to the farm and lead a mindful practice for a veteran who may have always wanted to try playing guitar. So we have community members who have signed up to volunteer to teach their hobbies to veterans that are transitioning. And then I really think that this is the key, is that when they leave here from this positive experience on the farm, working with horses and working on themselves, they go home and they have a bit of a soft landing, and they have new access to this new skill in their own home community. So it could be building models or model railroading. It's so that we drop them off into a support network in their own communities.
Okay.
So if someone has an incredible hobby,
The next question.
then and they feel that they would like to come and have that, be able to share that experience, and perhaps help us set up a veteran with a camera, with a ukulele. Like, the sky's the limit. Like, what are your hobbies? What do you have to share? What empowers you and fills you with passion? That's exactly what we want to send our veterans home with.
On the other side of that is that those conversations and that relationship that's formed with the veteran that the community member is interacting with, they go home and they talk about that experience with their family, and there's a ripple effect in community for greater understanding, and I think that's important for our own community to understand the sacrifices and to have an appreciation and a greater understanding of the culture that they come from.
Okay. So if somebody has a hobby like that and wants to help with your programs and wants to get involved, how can they contact you?
So our website is theforgeprograms.ca. Our contact information is there, along with other information about the programs. Okay. And that would be the best way to get a hold of us.
Perfect. Thanks for watching Where You Live. I'm Abby Fisher, and we'll see you next time.